Welcome to the Media Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vadebonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
And just we're talking about Siri. Do you use Siri a lot?
It comes on in class when I'm talking, and it thinks I said the word. But apart from that, I don't use
Siri?
it.
Now, does it activate everybody's phone or just yours?
Just mine.
Okay, for some reason.
People won't hear it because you're at the front of the room and they're
right.
some other place,
Yeah.
but I hear it. And it goes off, and then I'm like, oh, God. And then I go back to the phone after I'm done talking and look at it, and it's transcribed everything I've said.
The reason I ask is my kids have figured out how to make Siri do all kinds of fun stuff.
Really?
And they take our phones, when they say, oh, Dad, can I play something on your phone while we're waiting at the doctor's office or something? I say, sure. And he figures out how to make Siri change my name so that calls me something different, like Farthead or something like that. So it says, hello, Farthead. And it like you can actually make it change how it addresses you.
Oh,
it's pretty funny. So they do that, and they do all kinds of stuff. They love working with Siri and playing around with it.
Well, I remember you had a drawing that one of your children did of you, and it was of you, and it said fart.
Oh yes, that's right. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, it says.
Yes, I swear to you, these are not like truthful. I pass wind as much as the next person, but certainly it's by nowhere near as often as my kids would have you believe, given their.
Well, kids find it hilarious.
Oh, they do. Absolutely. Yeah. And I do too.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help either.
No. Oh, no. So now you basically dared them to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Let's get into the Nerd News. Nerd News is sponsored by FanQuest, a fan convention happening June 23rd and 24th. Go to fanquestcon.com for more information. You saw this yesterday, Kenton. This was actually, I'm going to give a shout out to one of your students, IPPs, the Hustle and Bustle film trailer review show. It's Louis, one of our students. Louis has this YouTube channel. It's
called Hustle and Bustle.
Hustle and Bustle.
That's the name of the YouTube channel if people are looking for it.
There you go. Look it up. So he does kind of commentary on movie trailers, and he also shares really interesting trailers. And so yesterday he shared a trailer for what appeared to be a sequel to Crocodile Dundee. Did you see this?
I did.
Okay, it's not real.
That's right. So it's for Tourism Australia.
And it's apparently a teaser for a Super Bowl ad that we're going to see in a few weeks as the Super Bowl approaches. But the response online, a lot of people, Louis' thing was he said that, he was Danny McBride and Chris Hemsworth, they were filming in secret. And it's really a movie that's going to come out. And it's, from what I saw online, the response to it was pretty good. I think a lot of people would love to see this movie, for real.
I would. I was pumped. I mean, I like it, but you know me. My weakness is Danny McBride, where he just makes me and few others scream with laughter. He's like the modern day Chris Elliott for me. Which similar kind of like I'm a bonehead, but maybe the best kind of bonehead, which is hilarious. The entertaining kind.
Yeah, he does play kind of a similar character in every movie, but it's a very funny character.
Yeah, he's always playing Kenny Powers.
That's right.
And I never want him to depart from that.
And so what I did is I shared it with our friends in Australia, the Countdown Movie and TV Reviews podcast. I remember having a conversation with Paul, one of the hosts of that show, about Crocodile Dundee. They were talking about some epic scenes or best final scenes of a movie, and I told him that I thought the final scene of Crocodile Dundee is one of the best of all time.
Really?
When they're in the subway station, he gets up and he walks across the crowd to her, and there's that music is rising. Such a great scene. And he responded and told me that basically Australians hate that movie. They hate what it's like. I guess for them it's like Bob and Doug McKenzie. For us,
but I love Bob and Doug McKenzie. That's a bad example.
I know, well, Canadians are different, a little bit different, I guess, but they don't like that.
Well, what are they longing for? Young Einstein Part 2?
I don't know.
Yahoo Serious.
I don't know if there's a great
starring and never again role.
I've no doubt that there are some Australian stereotypes out there that are just as bad and as annoying as some of the ones we get as
Kangaroo
Canadians.
Jack 2? Is that what they want?
I don't know. I guess there could be worse movies to be associated with, right? As far as Australia goes.
Picnic at Hanging Rock 2. What do they want?
I know that movie. Picnic at Hanging Rock is a.
That was a famous.
Is it Australia?
Yes, it's an Australian film based on, I think, a true story. Where people go on a picnic and go missing.
I guess Mad Max would be the one they want to be associated with, right?
How about A Cry in the Dark? The Dingo Took the Bobby Part 2. How many of these can we do? Have you got another one?
Yeah, I've got the one about the one with the war, the nuclear war with the beach, something on the beach. Right?
On the beach, Part 2.
Yes,
that's good.
How many more Australian films can we?
We're thinking of all the classic
Gallipoli.
Oh, that's good. Gallipoli Part 2.
Wow, I didn't realize there were so many Australian films.
Gallipoli 2.
It's funny because Gallipoli came up in class today. One of our students did a presentation on Lawrence of Arabia, and on not the movie, on the actual guy, Lawrence of Arabia. And one of the things they got into was the Battle of Gallipoli, which is was it very interesting. Anyway, so there you go. So this
that's great. Oh, I think we milked it, but there might be more. And if maybe our listeners want to tell us if
hashtag
if they have
Australian movies. Tell us what you can remember.
What do you think they want to see in Australia if they don't like Crocodile?
They don't like Crocodile Dundee. But anyway, I forgot the point of that story was that I shared that with Paul. He said actually this looks pretty good. So he would see this movie with Danny McBride, Chris Hemsworth. And he didn't like the original Crocodile Dundee. So, but I think it's part of the reason is that if this is a real film, it would take the joke and turn it back on the Americans. Like the American is the idiot in Australia, as opposed to the Australian being the idiot in America. Although Crocodile Dundee's not really an idiot, he's just got different ways of doing things, right? That's kind of the funny part of the movie. I don't mind it. I think it's a pretty good movie. I think it's it's dated a little bit. It was very 80s, but I quite enjoy the original Crocodile Dundee. I don't remember number 2. Number 2 is like I saw
it. Yeah, I don't remember it
I saw
either.
it as well, but I don't remember anything about it.
I do remember. I got a funny story about seeing the first movie in the theater, which is at the time, I believe that was the first general movie that anyone could go see, any kid could go. And it was the first viewing of a thong in North America. You know the scene?
Yes.
That scene, and I remember the crowd going, like horrified.
What about the one where he does drugs? What about the one where he's snorting coke? That's a G
that's
movie.
Right. I forgot about that. That's in the first one, isn't it?
Yes, it is. He puts it in the water and he gets the guy to breathe it in.
Yes, and it's a big laugh.
Yeah, but it's like, come on, is that really a drug use? Anyway, it was the 80s, right? That was all very acceptable back then.
I don't actually believe we called a bathing suit a thong back then.
Oh no, a thong was like a piece of footwear.
That was a piece of footwear here, and so people didn't even know what to be horrified by. They didn't even know what to call it. They're like, "There's a thing."
Still like 2 decades away from that awful song that came along.
Oh, that's a terrible song.
Anyway, so let's go on. Second story. You had something you want to talk about as far as somebody passing away.
Yes, the lead singer of The Fall, named Mark E. Smith, passed away. And Mark E. Smith is like one of those crazy, great British kind of like vile gangster characters who's equally funny and scary and crazy and kind of almost like a Shane McGowan type. Probably likes drinking a little too much. He died at the age of 60. But what I like about, and I've followed the band from the very beginning, and what I like about the band is they base their entire career on the idea that we have like 50,000 fans worldwide, and if we produce one album a year, all 50,000 of those fans will buy that album, and no one else. So I have an Elvis Presley greatest hits album. It's called 50 Million Elvis Fans Can't Be Wrong. The Fall put out their greatest hits, and it was 50,000 Fall fans Can't Be Wrong.
Yeah.
So very funny, but also in the 80s had some hits and became very poppy at a certain point, and then kind of brought it back in the 90s to sort of, it was almost like what he did was sometimes singing and sometimes it was more shouting, I guess you could say. But listening to their hits and their greatest hits compilation is as good as any British band's greatest hits.
What type of music is it, would you say?
It's punk, and in some cases it's just outright new wave, I would say. Like at their poppiest, there's a song, probably the Fall's poppiest song is called Creep, C-R-E-E-P. They did it before Radiohead.
Ooh.
Not the same song, so they spell it in the song, which is why it's called C-R-E-E-P. And you play that song and you're like, that is as poppy as anything that came out in the 80s. But then for everyone like that, probably in the 90s, they had a hit in Canada, The League of Bald-Headed Men. Present company excluded.
But that is why you like. Oh, you weren't even bald back then.
I'm not in the league, but I have never joined the league. But that was that got played on Much Music a lot, and I think if people in Canada know them for a song, it would be that one.
Okay.
But they've got some great albums. They've got, I know in Rolling Stone, I think they probably have 6 5-star albums, dating all the way back, and they continued, so like very prolific. Like they just cranked out an album a year no matter what, and sometimes like 2 albums a year, and then whenever the
30.
Probably a new compilation will come out soon.
32 albums, it says. 30,
Yeah.
32 studio albums.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just keep
That's
working
amazing.
away at it. So it's great, and great music. And for people who like kind of, I guess, indie rock, post-punk kind of stuff. They should give it a listen, and just anybody who wants to see what this guy was about. This was a much bigger story in England than it was here.
Yeah, I can tell.
I noticed I tweeted out the record album next to the Elvis one yesterday, just because I think it's so funny. I said Elvis sold more records, but Mark E. Smith was funnier, and then a few people noticed it and went, "Oh my God, I didn't realize he died." Just because in Canada it just doesn't get as much. He's not as well known.
I'm skimming this article. It says he had been sick for a while, so it was not a surprise necessarily. It doesn't say the cause of death, but
he drank a lot.
I
think famous for that.
Probably something related to that, but it was not like the tweet here from the band. The day I've been dreading is with deep regret that we announced the passing of Mark E. Smith. So that's like they obviously known it was coming. It was not a surprise at all, but very, very unfortunate. But he leaves behind 32 albums, which is amazing.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
And I'm sure they'll release some more as they get into the. Again, as you say, the greatest hits and that kind of stuff. They've never done a greatest hits.
No, they have. The 50,000 Fall Fans Can't Be Wrong is was a 2 CD greatest hits. I'm sure you can download it. That's a really good one. And then they have an album, A-Sides. They have an A-Sides album that came out earlier. It was sort of their best stuff from the 80s on it, and that's as solid an album as anything.
Okay.
So they got a bunch. There's one called Ben Sinister. There's one called Extra Kit. Those are all great albums. I Am Curious Orange is their ballet album. Loosely, it's a ballet album, but they got some great stuff, and it's worth noting just because it didn't get as much play here in North America.
Very cool. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Oscar nominations, which happened this week on the Media Nerds podcast. Oscars nominations came out Tuesday.
I have them in front of me.
I did not catch them as they were announced, but we had a quick conversation afterwards. Then later that afternoon when I got out of class, and let me ask you this before we get into the specifics: was there anything that surprised you about these nominations?
Not really.
No,
not much. I was happy. I mean, I got happy when I saw the words Star Wars. I knew it would not be for major categories, except for John Williams.
Oh, so that's nice.
I will say I was most pleased to see that. But there was nothing that I was hoping and praying would be nominated for something that disappointed or pleased me. It was less surprising.
We have not seen most of these because, again, the way these things work is that they tend to try to time it. So now they're all in the theater, so we can go see them in the theater and make more money for the studios. It's probably not going to happen, but let's quickly go through the top. So the Best Picture, there are 9 nominees for Best Picture.
Sorry, go ahead.
I've got them here. Call Me by Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post. I was going to call it Streep Hanks because that's what the poster for it says. Streep Hanks, and then the little small words in the corner it says The Post. So the movie's called Streep Hanks. No, it's The Post. And then The Shape of Water and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Now, of those, I think I was kind of surprised that Get Out got a nomination.
It had been building in hype lately.
Well, it had, but here's the thing: it's been out for a long time. Mm-hmm. It was released, I think, in the springtime or early summer. It's not Oscar bait. It's just a movie that they made. It's not something that was, obviously is very close to the director's heart. Jordan Peele. He said he'd always wanted to make a movie like this, and I don't know. Like it's a good. It's a good movie, and I'm glad it's nominated, and I'm glad that they are looking beyond like the last month of movies to do these nominations. Although everything else nominated here, except for maybe Dunkirk, was the only other exception because that was more of a summer blockbuster. Everything else is Oscar bait. Is definitely released as Oscar bait.
I have seen Get Out and Dunkirk.
I've not seen Dunkirk yet.
I love them both. I can say. Though I might have a recommendation at the end of this podcast that I find to be better than Get Out, but in the same kind of genre.
Cool.
But the Phantom Thread is another one. Globe and Mail just panned the hell out of that one.
I don't know what is it about.
It's Daniel Day-Lewis. It's the movie about the dressmaker who goes out for lunch a lot. That's all I really know about it.
Paul Thomas Anderson directed.
Right. That's right. So it's I love his movies, most of them, although he's got the occasional one that I don't need to see again.
Okay, here's the synopsis. In 1950s London, middle-aged couturier, I can't say that word, couturier, Reynolds Woodcock is at the height of his fame. Oh, look at him laugh at Woodcock and creative
No,
powers.
I was laughing at all of it.
Oh, okay.
Just like, can you think of a description that makes you want to see a movie less? But keep going.
No, this is what I'm saying. Is at the height of his fame and creative powers, his sister Cyril helps to manage his precisely ordered world. But when he falls for a younger, high-spirited waitress, Reynolds finds that his new muse has transformed his life in more ways than he thought possible.
Dun, dun, dun.
That sounds pretty boring to me.
Well, the previews weren't that thrilling. I read some reviews that were bad, and I skipped over the parts where where they give you a synopsis of the film because I know I'll see it. But the thought of having and the post doesn't drag me in either. Because I already know the story, and I've seen documentaries about it with the real people in it. And that's so when I see Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks standing there, I'm like, well, I've seen the real people in documentaries talking about.
So I think both of these films, The Post and Phantom Thread, are like the quintessential Oscar bait. Let's get Tom Hanks, multiple Academy Award winner; Meryl Streep, multiple Academy Award winner, directed by Steven Spielberg. All three of those telling a story about the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press in this year when the press and media are under attack as much as they are. That is absolutely Oscar bait. Although it only got Best Picture, it did not get Best Director or any acting nominations from. Oh yeah, Meryl Streep was nominated. I think that's just a requirement now. It's like whatever she does. I thought Colbert had a hilarious joke. She got 2 nominations, he said. One for the performance in The Post, and the second one for looking so surprised when she found out she was nominated. Anyway, I'm just looking through the acting things. I do not see Tom Hanks is not nominated. And I think, is Spielberg nominated for director?
No.
So there you go. So again, it's just kind of a gimme.
That was considered a snub.
That Spielberg was not directed. Well, the thing is, how much... I mean, I don't know. How much can you nominate Spielberg?
There's 2 schools of thought. If the film is great, it should be in every category, or we should share the wealth among all the films that came out and spread it more thinly.
Yes. But and then, of course, we have Shape of Water, which is the one everyone seems to be talking about.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people in my my social circles on Facebook and Twitter who've been going to see it and then saying it's a great film. So more people I know personally have said it's a great film. Directed by Guillermo del Toro, starring Michael Shannon. I don't remember the name of the woman who's in it.
That's Sally Hawkins.
Yeah, she's also been nominated before.
She is in my favorite movie, Happy Go Lucky, where she is she is a star in that movie.
Okay.
That was basically the movie that broke her. That was a Mike Leigh film, and she is unbelievable in that movie. She just commands that movie. So I saw that movie and I was like, wow. That was great. Too bad we'll never see her in North American film. And then
there was something else she was in.
She was in
recently.
a Woody Allen movie right after that, and then she was in Shape of Water. And I just saw her in. Oh, what was it? I saw her in another recent film.
Okay,
I just can't think of what. Oh, Paddington.
Oh, right. That's right. I liked Paddington.
Oh, me too. What's not to like?
I don't know.
No, I'm pissed that Paddington 2 isn't nominated for Best Picture, although I haven't seen that yet.
Neither
but
have I.
I understand that it's wonderful.
But this is the one that I'm, I guess, most excited to see because it's something along the lines of what I would see anyway. It looks like a creature feature kind of monster movie. It takes place in the Cold War. It's like a secret military base. Doug Jones plays the monster, which I love. Doug Jones, of course, is that famous actor. He's not famous really because you never see his face, but he is well known for portraying many, many different creatures. He is in the new Star Trek series. He was the a couple of the monsters in Pan's Labyrinth, and including the guy with the eyes on his hands.
Yeah.
And he is, what else did he do? He was also Mac Tonight. Fun fact. In the old McDonald's commercial, he was Mac Tonight, the guy with the big moon head. That was him.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's a great actor in his own right, but he's not an actor. It's funny. It's like he's covered in makeup. You never see him.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any lines in this. He's just looks like a creature from the Black Lagoon, basically. And but there's no nomination for him.
And Sally Hawkins plays a deaf person who doesn't speak.
Mute.
And
she's not deaf.
And so she. There's many scenes apparently where there's no dialogue whatsoever, and that must make it hard to put a trailer together for the film.
The trailer is excellent, actually. I found the trailer tells the story but doesn't give too much away, and Michael Shannon looks like he's just given a great performance. So this one is one I'm going to try and convince my wife to go see it this weekend, actually.
I heard this week that the first, I can't remember, it was half hour or hour of the film is so depressing that it's like a real hard first hour of the film. That's what I heard.
Interesting.
But not that it was a bad film, but that the first hour like rings you, puts you through the emotions.
Okay.
So I don't know. And I only know what you know about the film too. So I don't know the details of that. But whenever you hear that, it makes you go, oh, like what am I in for here? Like how rough is this? What are we talking about?
Darkest Hour. This is Gary Oldman, also nominated for this performance as Winston Churchill. This seems to be the year for Winston Churchill. Hey, we had John Lithgow win an Emmy for his portrayal in The Crown. Yeah. And now we have Gary Oldman, same character. But does it seem weird that they're being nominated for is this we were talking about this last week. Is this an impression or is it a performance, right? We all know what Winston Churchill looks and sounds like because he's so well known. So when you're an actor doing this, are you just trying to do the impression or what's the...
I guess we have to see the film.
I guess so.
Because there's a fine line. It's very hard to know. But he does look like in the preview and on the poster and like in all the promotional stuff, it looks like they really went the distance in terms of making him look...
It's probably the first movie in a long time that I've actually heard him with a British accent because most of the time he plays Americans these days.
Right.
He's Commissioner Gordon or whatever, and he doesn't use his natural accent. Although he doesn't in this either. But
if you want an Oscar nomination, let that British accent out.
That's right. Yeah, so you have to do because the actor who is from Get Out, he is also British and plays an American in Get Out.
That's amazing.
He's very good, and he's also nominated for an acting Oscar for this as well.
That's great.
Call by Your Name. What is that all about?
That is a movie with Armie Hammer, Lone Ranger himself.
Well, I was gonna say from The Social Network. He's the twins. He's the whatever twins, the guys who thought Mark Zuckerberg stole Facebook from them. Yeah, he plays those guys.
This week on the Corolla podcast, Bald Brian, who reviews the films on Baldywood, said "Call Me by Your Name" has got a very questionable story in it, and he was surprised it got a nomination just because the story has some bad lessons in it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting.
Involving an underage person and sex. So let's see. I mean, I will watch that movie because it is one of the Best Picture nominees. But I found it interesting. They had a very interesting discussion about that actually.
And then we had Lady Bird, which I saw again. A lot of people seeing this and saying it was really good. Mm-hmm. I'll go see it. I think it looks pretty good.
I've got it in my wish list, but who knows when you can rent it.
Greta Gerwig is the writer-director, and she's nominated for directing, only the 5th woman ever to be nominated for Best Director. And that speaks more to the industry than to the Oscars. There's just not enough women making these kind of movies.
I think we had our first woman nominated in cinematography, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, is that right?
But
yes, that's right.
I don't know what it was for, and there's no names listed here.
I think I know in a second. If I scroll through it, I'll recognize it. Was it a Netflix movie? Mudbound. It was Rachel Morrison for Mudbound, which I believe is a Netflix movie.
Really?
Hold on. No, it doesn't say. I read that in an article somewhere.
Well, once again, like in Best Documentary, there is. I have seen one of those because it was PBS Frontline. It was shown on Frontline. So it's the classic. How are we nominating these again? Like, what do you need to do to get in here? Why is there a Frontline episode in Best Documentary Feature?
How I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't quite know because I thought by definition all of these had to play in a theater.
Is that right?
Well, I thought so, but maybe documentary is different.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, because maybe they're changing that because it is a Netflix thing. I don't know if it is or not. Anyway, what else? What else jumps out at you?
All right, so an actor, Daniel Day-Lewis, is the Meryl Streep of his category. I think he keeps saying he's going to retire, and so they keep throwing awards at him. And I guess we'll see. He became a cobbler for a while.
That's right, he did. Yes,
he was a cobbler. So there's no awards for cobbler.
He did not star in The Cobbler. That was an Adam Sandler movie. That is not the same thing. Please do not see that.
Best cobbling goes to. And then original screenplay, we always like to say original screenplay is the films. If they weren't nominated for Best Picture, they should have been. And that's where you get The Big Sick shows up. And then, of course...
That's a good one. I'm glad to see that there. I was told by a friend that was the best movie he saw this year.
Interesting.
So
it joins 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the Best Picture nominees into a screenplay.
Yep.
Adapted screenplay... Aaron Sorkin, he's the Daniel Day-Lewis of adapted screenplays. where no matter what he does, if his name's on it, he appears to get votes.
I used to not like Aaron Sorkin, and then I watched The West Wing, and I grew to love Aaron Sorkin because
I love The West Wing, and I hate The Newsroom.
Oh,
Remember?
well, that's true.
Oh my God!
But the thing is, I didn't mind The Newsroom at first. You hated it from the get-go.
No, I liked the first episode.
Oh, the first episode,
and then I started going, I don't know if I like this anymore. And then 5 episodes in, I was like, this is garbage.
Yeah, and I gave it through the first season. I thought, well, we'll see where it goes, and then it went really poorly in the second season.
I watched the finale too, and I'm glad I did because I never would have seen Jeff Daniels lip sync with an acoustic guitar in a garage.
Let's go back. First of all, can we go back to the acting nomination for a second?
Yeah.
I want to note that though he did win the Golden Globe James Franco is not nominated for the Disaster Artist.
Right.
Yet Denzel Washington is, and I didn't even know Denzel Washington had a movie out this year. I didn't know it was like the type of movie that he'd be nominated for because he does a bunch of different stuff.
Denzel and Daniel Day-Lewis are the perennial.
I would say Gary Oldman's been nominated quite a bit as well. Like you're
right.
The only 2 newcomers is either this Timothée Chalamet from Call Me by Your Name or Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out. Those are the 2 like newcomers, first time nominees. The other 3 are old guys that have been nominated a bunch of times.
Even Gary's last name is Old Man.
So anyway,
could be a better name.
I would say we're going to see all these. I would love to see Daniel Kaluuya win this because it's a great performance. It's a great film, and he's awesome in person. Like in interviews, I saw him on Colbert. Very funny guy, very relaxed and personable. Seems to be very down to earth and a great overall guy. So I think I would love to see him win for that reason. I mean, I haven't seen any of the other movies. I don't think Denzel's going to win just based on it being Denzel.
Well, one year Denzel won for Training Day.
Yeah, that was
a big shocker to people.
And
but
that was not.
You know what? I'd actually seen that movie and I was like, he's going to win. I told so many people that when he actually won, they're like, "You are the soothsayer of the Oscar." And I was like, "Well, I saw the movie." Like,
but I did see the movie. I think after he won, I'm like, why did he win for this? What's so special about this performance?
The movie itself isn't fantastic.
No,
but he's really good in it.
I thought he was a little over the top in it, to be honest.
Oh, did you? Yeah. I liked him in it.
King Kong ain't got nothing on me. You know that whole thing. I don't know. It was not for me, I guess.
I think it was unexpected, but maybe after he won, then it was kind of like, well, I got you look at the performance through different eyes.
He should have won for other movies, and I think that part of the reason why he won that was to make up for other snubs or other times he'd lost. The actress in a leading role, we have Sally Hawkins from The Shape of Water, Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which we haven't talked about yet. I haven't seen it yet. I hear it's just it is all about the acting in this movie. This is the one that the performers are so good. So I'll see that, and I wouldn't surprise me if she won it. Margot Robbie for I, Tonya, which is a movie with Tonya Harding. Who makes a movie about Tonya Harding now?
It seems fast, but then again, we're living
it's not fast. It was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, too fast. like remember when we used to see stuff like, I'm trying to think, like a historical drama would actually be historical.
Yeah.
But now it's like, remember that thing you vaguely recall from the Olympics 20 years ago?
Yes, that's right,
And you're like, oh, yeah.
I don't know how to say her name in Lady Bird. Shorza. She did a song about it on Saturday Night Live. Shorza?
Oh, yeah.
Sorja?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Sorsha?
Ronan?
Ms.
Ronan.
I thought it was a lame gag, so I didn't pay attention. I should have, because she sang a whole song when she hosted SNL this year about how to pronounce her name. Nominated for Lady Bird. Again, haven't seen it.
I will see that.
I will see it, absolutely. And then, of course, Meryl Streep for The Post. I don't think she'll win, but it's nice to be nominated. What else?
It's an honor to be nominated.
I think this is an interesting one. Actor in a supporting role, Christopher Plummer, who came in at the last minute, subbed in for Kevin Spacey and All the Money in the World because of the whole Kevin Spacey scandal. They changed the director, Ridley Scott, I believe it was, right? Ridley Scott directed. Changed the actor, reshot his scenes with a different actor, nominated for an Oscar.
Mark Wahlberg made $1.5 million to do his reshoots,
and
is what we know.
Michelle Williams only made $1,000 or something like that. Something stupid like that. But how much did Christopher Plummer get paid? It doesn't matter because he was nominated for an Oscar.
And he won the Golden Globe.
Oh, did he? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, man. Oh, geez.
So basically, you just show up to cover for Kevin Spacey and you win. You're nominated, and maybe you win every time. Although I think the backlash on that movie after everybody found out how much Wahlberg got paid might actually sink Christopher Plummer's chances.
Possibly, yeah.
Just the sort of negative vibe that goes with that film after all of that. I don't know. And then, I heard Willem Dafoe is great in The Florida Project.
Yeah, and that's the only nomination for that movie. So people think that's a snub for that film.
Yeah, a lot of people love that movie.
Yeah. And then, of course, these are 2 nominations for 3 billboards. Woody Harrelson and Sam Rockwell, both good actors. They both looks like they both play sheriffs from their uniforms here.
Yeah.
So again, we'll see that.
I love movies with sheriffs.
Me too, actually. Yeah. I quite love it.
Yeah, they're always good.
This latest season of Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency has some very good actors in a sheriff's role, and it's very, very funny, and they do very well. Now, this guy Richard Jenkins, who is in The Shape of Water.
Oh. He shot a movie in Winnipeg, by the way. He's been to Winnipeg.
Oh,
yeah.
So good.
Wasn't that long ago? I remember he was just coming off 6 Feet Under.
Right, and also he's in Cabin in the Woods. He plays one of the guys in the tie with Bradley Whitford.
Yeah,
and the underneath in the underground thing or whatever. So good in that role, and he's a great character actor. He plays all kinds of stuff. I think he's Ted's dad in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Really?
I bet you he is.
I don't
think
remember.
He is. Dad, I need my keys. Anyway, that guy, and the guy is that the guy who's got the young wife? No, that's the other dad. Anyway, I would like to see him win, but again, I'll see the movies first. This is just kind of our initial impressions as we're running out a little bit of a time here. What else?
Yeah, we'll do another podcast where we make our predictions, but this is just us sort of
initial reactions.
Yeah. Us coping with this big announcement this week. Visual effects, I just want to say I watched the ending of Kong Skull Island, and it's a big piece of crap. So I hope it wins nothing. I watched Blade Runner recently too.
Oh,
and it drags every bit as much as the first movie. So if you like draggy films with disappointing payoffs, I kind of liked it.
I love the first Blade Runner. I don't think it drags.
No, well, I think the first one drags, and I like it, and the second one drags, but I like it.
I'm surprised that Kong Skull Island was nominated. It was not a great movie.
It's
horrible.
Now
they're trying to build this universe, this Kong Godzilla universe, shared universe. So they're gonna have like a Kong versus Godzilla movie come out next, and I'm like, I don't know. I like the Godzilla movie. That's that's Gareth Edwards, I believe.
Yeah.
And I like that, but I did not like Kong. I think it needed way less Samuel L. Jackson in it. Just come on, you just don't need that.
What a terrible film.
It was not good.
No. And Star Wars is in there, and
Star Wars is in there.
Galaxy,
Guardians of the Galaxy has
Planet
some
of the
effects.
Apes.
I mean, probably going to be Planet of the Apes just because they made that monkey look so good. And the
it's the Andy Serkis Award. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it is pretty much. Although I'm surprised that although maybe it's nominated for makeup. Shape of Water, is it nominated for makeup?
Trying to find it on my list. Where's makeup and hairstyling?
Hair and makeup.
Oh, here we go.
Our favorite category.
And hairstyling.
Yes.
It says here, Darkest Hour, Victoria and Abdul, and Wonder.
There's only 3? Why is there only 3?
I don't know.
Wonder is the one about that kid who has that disease. My wife went and saw it. She said it was really good. But why is there only 3? Well, they could have put Shape of Water in there.
Every once in a while, someone does another Cyrano de Bergerac, and they can't say no to the big nose tacked onto a guy's face.
Steve Martin and Roxanne.
Yeah, that's the fast track to makeup and hairstyling Oscar.
Right.
Stick a long nose on.
Animated feature film, The Boss Baby, which is not good. It's not a great movie. My kids like it, but I didn't love it. The Breadwinner, Coco, Ferdinand, and Loving Vincent. I've not seen I only saw the Boss Baby. I've not seen any of the other ones yet.
We do have an original song from The Greatest Showman, so if we're lucky, Hugh Jackman will hop up on stage.
Does he perform it?
Give us well, he must. I think it's the Company. It's the hit. It's the song by the Company. The Greatest Showman.
Yes.
So I think that might be worth tuning in to see. I always like it when Hugh Jackman shows up on an awards show. He's always good fun.
Oh, he's a great stage presence.
He has actual talent as opposed to most of the people on this.
Although I hear the movie's not great.
List. I'm still going to see it. It's P.T. Barnum, I teach
a
PR.
I like musicals, so I'll see it as well. Baby Driver was nominated for one Oscar for film editing, and that's the one it deserves.
Mm-hmm.
Although no, sound editing. I think it also had sound editing. Sorry. There's sound editing and sound mixing. It's the 2 weirdest categories. Okay, here's the thing. All the nominees are the same for both. That's so.
What's the point?
Baby Driver, Blade Runner, Dunkirk, Shape of Water, Star Wars. 5 nominees, exactly the same for both sound editing and sound mixing. Why not combine this into one Oscar? I don't get it.
No one really knows the difference between either one.
No, they don't.
They've explained. There's been many Oscars where they've explained the difference to us, and we never pay attention. So, good for them. I will also say I've seen 3 of the best documentary features, Icarus and Abacus, which are both really good. And I saw Strong Island on Netflix this week, and it's not as good.
Okay.
Although, you know what, let me say this, because I don't want people to think I don't like the story. I love the story of Strong Island, but it has a narrative way of telling the story that gets in the way of the story that is frustrating when you watch the movie. But the story itself is a really interesting story. I can see why it was nominated, but at the same time, it's my least favorite of the 3 I've seen.
So just to sum up, The Shape of Water has the most nominations with 13, because it does hit a lot of those production. It doesn't really hit the act. It's got 1 acting nomination, but a directing and best picture and that kind of stuff. So 13 overall. I don't know that we're ever going to have another big sweep the way we used to have. Like there used to be movies that just swept everything. I don't know when the last time that happened was. I don't know if that's going to happen again, but I'll say overall, I do like that. Like they're looking outside just the normal Oscar period for a couple of these movies, for Dunkirk and Get Out, and I hope that continues to be the case. I think a lot of movies get overlooked because they're released earlier in the year, and maybe the studio's got something else that they think is better, that there's going to get more of a chance, and then they do this whole Oscar strategy, and then blah. And I don't like that. I wish we would get away from that a little bit, because there are movies that come out all throughout the year that are really good and get snubbed. One more thing before we wrap up this conversation.
Recommendations.
We usually do that, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But Logan nominated for best adapted screenplay. That's the first time that's happened for a comic book movie. Now they've been nominated for special effects and stuff before, but to have a comic book movie it's based on, they say it's adapted because it's based on an actual comic book, Marvel comic book. To have that happen is a pretty big deal.
Yeah,
and it really, I guess, tells you that Logan was I guess groundbreaking in a lot of ways, because it took this character that was the popcorn blockbuster movie. That's what Hugh Jackman did for years, decades, with that character in X-Men movies, and then they took it for the final film of his story apparently, and made it a very good, serious, excellent story, and have that nomination. I think it's a great thing.
And it worked as a legitimate Western in some ways.
There's so many genres that it pulled from. So again, I think these are better nominations that we've seen in the past. It doesn't completely go with all. There were some snubs. Absolutely, there were some snubs.
Nothing shocking.
Whatever.
Right?
I don't know.
Nothing. It's not like some years where you're like, well, how can this be? Or like there was nothing really, nothing too surprising here.
But I think they're very conscious of the want diversity. They want to have a good a collection of good movies. I still don't think that the 9 nominees are, and I think they should have just done the 5 nominees.
I like the 5 better.
I think they could have dropped The Post. They could have dropped Dunkirk maybe, and maybe Call Me by Your Name and Phantom Thread. Those ones. I mean, I don't know that we really Phantom Thread. I don't think needs to be in there. The Post doesn't.
Maybe they should just get rid of the category.
Maybe there's that too.
No more Best Picture.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, let's get to recommendations before we go.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay.
So last night, I was going to recommend a video game, but I'm going to wait till tomorrow to talk about that.
Oh, yes.
Because we're talking about video games on our Star Wars Nerds podcast. But as I was about to go to bed, I thought, well, let's see what's on Netflix. Let's see if there's anything new on Netflix that I've missed. And I caught a brand new comic book show, a superhero show. And I watch all of these. I watch all the superhero shows. Black Lightning, which is actually a TV show. I think it's on CW. I don't know this for sure. But it's got the other deal where it's like it's on CW, then it goes to Netflix. Same as Riverdale and many other shows. They have that deal. So I watched the first episode of Black Lightning last night. I was pleasantly surprised. I don't know anything about the character. I've never read it. It's a DC character, so I've never read the comic book. The story kind of picks up. It's like he's been retired for 10 years because he wanted to protect his family. So it's a little bit like a Dark Knight Returns kind of thing, where he hasn't been a superhero for a long time, but he seems to have really cool powers. The special effects are really awesome, and some good acting in there as well. So I'm going to recommend checking out Black Lightning.
Excellent. I will do that.
Okay.
My recommendation is, of all things, a Vince Vaughn revenge thriller that came out last year. It's called Brawl in Cell Block 99.
I've heard of this.
Yes, and I just heard of it recently too. And I watched it, and it was like violent in the best way possible. It's almost like a Pulp Fiction, or a Reservoir Dogs, where you watch it and you're just giddy as you see revenge in the best, most violent way possible. But it's legitimately a great Vince Vaughn performance, which I never thought I'd say. Like, better than Dodgeball? Better than Dodgeball. Like, you know what I mean? But I really love that movie. It probably is my favorite movie of last year.
Wow.
If I was forced to come up with one, I think I'd say that one. And it's not for everyone because of the violence, I'll say. So if violence is bad, if you don't like violence, you won't like this movie. But if you like the Pulp Fictions and the Reservoir Dogs of the world, I found it just incredibly satisfying and hilarious in some cases, gory in some cases, and Don Johnson's in the movie.
Oh, wow.
You can't go wrong with Don Johnson.
Crockett himself.
Can't go wrong. So I have to recommend that. I give that a giant recommendation.
All right, I'll check it out. After I see the Oscar movies, I'll check it out. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Media Nerds Podcast. Go to MediaNerdsPodcast.com for our full podcast, blog, and social media channels.